the soul connection. And I have asked the president and founder of Solle Naturals to come on tonight and talk about specifically Cinnamate. And it is most people's favorite drink, but I've asked him to tell us about his philosophy for the formulation and its benefits and all the good stuff. So Greg, I'll let you go ahead and tell us.
Thanks so much, Erica, and hello, everybody. And I'm really grateful to be here with you. Cinnamate, you'll start to see the new Cinnamate box, of course. And I look at it, and if you look at the back, you probably can see we talk about three things: boosting energy, controlling cravings, and that's one of the big ones. That's the middle one. It's the cupcake with the slash through it. And then sharpening focus. Because remember, if this is your first time, if you're newer, one of the reasons we founded the company was to make formulas that always address the physical and the emotional or the mental corollary. And we do realize that there are many corollaries or some certain emotional or cognitive aspects can be linked to so many different things. We realize that. But the thing that usually is the eye opener for people when they first hear about solar, or at least start investigating more or start talking about it more, is how much nutrition, if you get the right nutrition, can influence a mood, and how much that's even a slight change in mood can start processes or reignite sort of dormant processes, or help boost a little bit, elevate just a little bit, those processes that are built within us that help us find healthy weight, help us find sort of balance and equilibrium, that when the body's in that state, we see things resolve more easily, things that kind of get out of whack, because life has a way of putting us in situations that can easily get us kind of a little bit out of whack. Cinnamate was the second formula. It was number 2, and originally, most people don't know this, we actually were going to provide it as a capsule. But in the process, in tasting, we realized this actually tastes really good. And when you can take something as a drink, it's like a tea. You drink it like a tea, but it's not a tea. Because you think about teas very often, you're steeping them and you're pulling out the little packet, and you're kind of getting what you can draw. Whereas Cinnamate is a full extract that you're dissolving and drinking all of. You get much more than if you just drank a tea. And when we saw this, we saw great potential. So thinking about Cinnamate for just a second, and about this topic of sort of cravings and a good healthy weight, which is unique to each of us as an individual. There really isn't a stereotype there. But I think we all can tell when we have a good healthy weight, because we feel strong, we have a lot of stamina to, both emotional and physical, to kind of do what is important to us for as much time as we desire to spend or is needed to spend on those things. And we can rest and we can refresh. I mean, to me, that's kind of my definition. I know it's a really general, broad definition of healthy weight, but that's how I look at it. Cinnamate is, to me, one of the first 2 products that I would always educate or share when we're on this topic, because first of all, it's incredibly loaded with vitamins and minerals. I can think of 2 of the ingredients of Cinnamate, and I'll just run them down if you're familiar with herbs at all. Yerba mate, not the tea, but a concentrated extract. Yerba mate, a lot of people view it as a tea because it's drunk kind of like one. It is not. It's an evergreen tree that grows in South America in the holly family. There are a few varieties. The variety that's been studied is the Paraguayan Ilex paraguayensis, is the botanical. And there actually are male and female trees. It's a really fascinating, it's a fascinating and highly nutritious plant. And in fact, in Argentina, recently they published the recommendation for children to drink this. And some people are like, really, what? Seriously. Remember, it's a highly nutritious evergreen. And it happens to have somewhere in the vicinity of approaching 200 vitamins, minerals, beneficial plant compounds of all varieties. And in fact, it is an elevator. It's a lifter. I love the training that Dr. Allison did on this when she talks about yerba mate and metabolism. The name of the training was Yerba Mate and Basic Plant Chemistry. And what she shows is that these things that strengthen our mind, when the mind feels better, we're more productive, the metabolism increases. That's one factor that drives us toward a healthy weight in all situations. Well, why yerba mate does that is because there are three most studied, I guess, alkaloids, xanthine alkaloids that stimulate. One is caffeine, one is theobromine, and the other one's theophylline. And the interesting thing about mate is the form of caffeine in it is really a misnomer. Caffeine is really a misnomer because the form of it is slightly different, and why scientists called it matine. And you can still read publications where they'll say matine, and then others will argue, no, it's just caffeine. Look at the structure, but it actually is slightly different. It's non-addictive. It does not produce a crash after. In fact, it behaves very differently than caffeine in things like cola and guarana and lots of plants, coffee, where they're loaded with caffeine. So nonetheless, even though it's a little different, the interesting thing is yerba mate, which is the dominant ingredient in Cinnamate, has all three of those xanthine alkaloids. Usually plants have one or the other. Chocolate has the theobromine. I mean, you can find the ones that have them, and they act differently. Well, mate has all three. It is so varied in its nutrition that it's adaptogenic, and that's why we consider it an adaptogen. It is one of two adaptogens in the formula. And like backing off some of this detail of how it lifts us, it's highly nutritious. Like I said, nearly 200 vitamins, minerals, amino acids, a bunch of amino acids in there. What doesn't quite equal mate, but is really in the same neighborhood of nutritional value, is the nopal cactus, which is also in there. So you have mate, you have nopal, you actually have thyme, the herb thyme, you have three kinds of cinnamon, you have a little bit of honey powder. Oh, banaba leaf, that's the last ingredient. So not a particularly complex formula. After this formula that was developed, there was a presentation. It was a fairly nationally known natural health educator. And they talked about the combination of cinnamon and honey. And I think, and there was a third ingredient, and I can't remember which of the ingredients in Cinnamate was in this combination, but it's also in Cinnamate. Unbeknownst to us, okay, when the formula was created, we didn't know about this study. A wonderful methodology for changing the body's metabolism, its norm, and resulting in a healthier weight. So there are so many different angles. I'll just say that Cinnamate possesses to help us with that. I'll just say one last one, okay? This idea of cravings. I mean, there are lots of reasons for them. And I'm sure, Erica, you could probably teach all the detail on that way better than I can. I just remember a couple of things from trainings that Dr. Allison gave us. You know, one common reason is just really a very, unfortunately, a poor diet that most of us have, even if we're eating fairly healthy, because of the nature of harvesting and farming practices, et cetera. I mean, I hate to say it because it sounds really harsh, but plants are very, very poor in nutrients now, rich in appearance and size. And so we can be eating pretty well, and we have these lacks. And because I mentioned two of the ingredients in Cinnamate that are just so loaded with vitamins and minerals, they fill all those gaps. I mean, that's one reason that cravings get satisfied. We have cravings is we have lacks. But let me just say that from the nutritional side, Cinnamate is it's the perfect support agent. It really is the perfect one. You can use it as much as you need. Listen to your body. You can drink it as often as you want. I do recommend it be part of every day. And then in situations, listen if it's more, and just you can sip on it. You don't have to like guzzle it. There are lots of ways that you can use Cinnamate. You can cook with it. It actually goes in a ton of things, cooking with it, and you get all that benefit. I didn't even mention blood sugar, but 4 of those ingredients are blood sugar normalizers. 2 of them are adaptogens. So no matter which side your blood sugar is off, they offer the body the components that the body uses to bring it back to balance.
It's all good. And I love it. And you know what? You know what I love about every single formula that Solle has is they're so complex. We could probably talk about them forever. And so that's the benefit, you guys, of coming every single week, because I'm just going to keep dragging Greg out here every single week as long as he'll let me, so that we can dive in more and more and more to each one of these, and we can continue to learn.